The late summer sun was beginning its slow descent over Times Square, casting a molten gold haze that clung to the glass and steel of the towering buildings. The air was thick, almost tangible, carrying the mingled scents of hot pretzels, roasted peanuts, and the faint tang of exhaust from the endless stream of yellow cabs inching their way through the gridlocked streets. Giant LED billboards blazed with impossible brightness, advertising everything from Broadway shows to luxury watches, their colors reflecting off the mirrored surfaces of nearby skyscrapers. Street performers in superhero costumes posed for photos, their bright spandex shimmering under the neon glow, while buskers strummed guitars or beat out rhythms on overturned buckets. Tourists shuffled in clusters, their voices a patchwork of languages, cameras flashing as they tried to capture the chaos and magic of the place. Amid this sensory overload, a man in a plain black baseball cap and dark sunglasses moved with quiet purpose. His gray t-shirt clung slightly to his frame in the humid air, and his gait was unhurried, almost invisible in the crowd. This was Jason Statham, though here, in the heart of New York, he was just another face in the tide of humanity. He slipped into a Burger King wedged between a souvenir shop and a Broadway ticket booth, the blast of air conditioning washing over him like a sudden wave. Inside, the lighting was warm but muted, the hum of conversation blending with the soft hiss of the fryers. Jason approached the counter, his voice low and steady as he ordered a double Whopper with cheese, large fries, and a Coke. The cashier, a young man with earbuds dangling from his neck, didn't seem to recognize him, and Jason preferred it that way. With his tray in hand, he chose a corner booth by the window, where he could watch the blur of neon and humanity outside while enjoying the rare anonymity that came with blending in. He unwrapped his burger slowly, the paper crinkling softly, and took a deliberate bite, savoring the quiet in contrast to the chaos just beyond the glass. For a man whose life was often a whirlwind of cameras, stunts, and scripted danger, this moment, sitting alone in a fast food booth, unnoticed, felt almost luxurious. He had barely taken his second bite when the door swung open, letting in a rush of warm air and the muffled roar of Times Square. Two boys stepped inside, their sneakers squeaking faintly against the tiled floor. They looked to be around 8 or 9 years old, African American, with matching navy blue t-shirts that read PS 212 in bold white letters, clearly fresh from school. Their names, as Jason would soon learn, were Malik and Jordan. Malik, the taller of the two, had a backpack slung over one shoulder, while Jordan clutched a small paper bag that looked like it held the remains of a sandwich. They scanned the room, their eyes darting from table to table, until Malik froze mid-step. His gaze locked on Jason, and his mouth fell open just slightly. He leaned toward his brother, whispering something urgent, and Jordan's eyes widened in recognition. They hesitated, their small bodies tense with the mix of excitement and shyness that comes from seeing someone you've only known from a glowing screen. Finally, Malik took a deep breath and led the way, his sneakers making soft, deliberate steps toward the corner booth. Jason noticed them coming and set down his burger, wiping his hands on a napkin before offering a warm, almost fatherly smile. "Hey there, fellas," he said, his British accent softened but still unmistakable. "How's your day going?" The boys exchanged a quick glance before Malik spoke, his voice trembling just enough to betray his nerves. "Mr. Statham, our dad, he was your biggest fan. He watched all your movies, over and over. Especially The Transporter. He said you made him feel strong, even when things were really hard." Jason's smile faded into something gentler, more solemn. He leaned forward slightly, his forearms resting on the table. He asked quietly, the single word carrying a weight that made the boys shift uncomfortably. Jordan, his voice barely above a whisper, answered, "He passed away 3 months ago. Before he died, he told us that if we ever saw you, we should thank you. He said you gave him courage." Jason sat back, the words settling over him like a heavy blanket. For a moment, the noise of Times Square seemed to fade into silence. He studied their faces, Malik's determined but trembling gaze, Jordan's shy but steady eyes, and felt something stir deep inside him. He gestured to the empty seats across from him. "Sit down, boys," he said softly. They slid into the booth, their small frames dwarfed by the red vinyl seats. Jason pushed his fries toward them. "Help yourselves." As they reached hesitantly for the food, Jason asked, "Tell me about your dad." And they did. They told him about David Johnson, a man who worked 2 jobs, one as a security guard at night, another stocking shelves at a grocery store during the day. How he'd come home exhausted but still find the energy to watch movies with them, quoting Jason's lines in exaggerated accents just to make them laugh. How he'd tell them that strength wasn't about muscles or fighting, but about standing up when life tried to knock you down. Jason listened, nodding slowly, his mind drifting to his own father, to the lessons he'd learned growing up in a working-class family in Shirebrook. He remembered the long hours his dad had put in, the quiet sacrifices, the way he'd never complained. The parallels were impossible to ignore. Jason reached into his pocket and pulled out a pen. He grabbed a clean napkin and began to write in neat, deliberate strokes, "To Malik and Jordan, your father's strength lives in you. Stay brave. Jason Statham." He slid the napkin across the table, his signature bold beneath the message. Malik picked it up carefully, as if it were made of glass. "Thank you," he whispered. Jason smiled faintly. "No, boys, thank you. For reminding me why I do what I do." They finished the fries together, talking about movies, about school, about the little things that made them laugh. When it was time to go, Jason walked them to the door. The humid air rushed back in as he held it open. The boys waved, clutching the napkin like a priceless artifact, and disappeared into the crowd. Jason stood there for a moment, watching until they were swallowed by the sea of people. The noise of Times Square returned in full force, the honking horns, the shouts of street vendors, the thump of bass from a nearby performer's speaker, but inside, Jason felt an unexpected stillness. He returned to his booth, his burger now cold, and sat for a long while, staring out at the chaos beyond the glass. In his world, he was used to scripted heroics, choreographed fights, and applause that faded as soon as the credits rolled. But this was different. This was real. A man he'd never met had found strength in his work, had passed that admiration down to his children, and now, in a small corner of a Burger King in the heart of New York City, Jason had been given the chance to return that gift. As he finally stood to leave, blending once more into the anonymity of the crowd, he knew that no blockbuster, no box office record, could ever match the quiet power of that moment. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories.